Hello, everybody. I'm Paul Ryden. The great Hall of Famer Ted Williams ended his phenomenal Red Sox career with a home run in his last at bat. Nothing like going out in style. Well, our guest today has a similar story. Brett Garvin, after a 30-year career as a high school football coach, led his last team at Sandy Creek High School in Georgia to a state championship. It was a storybook ending to a storybook career, and now he's passing on the principles that made for his success in his book, From Good to Great, A Winning Philosophy. Coach Garvin, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So, did you get carried off the field on that last? You should
You
have
know
been,
what?
right?
After a state championship, it's such chaos with the players. It's just, I don't think that crossed their mind. They were so excited. So was I, but yeah.
That must have been a great sense of accomplishment to wrap up a career like that, having been taken
Yes.
part in 3 or 4 state championships as an assistant and as a head coach, and coaching some
Yeah.
really great players like Calvin Johnson and guys like that who are still in the NFL. Some of them. What was that like? I mean,
Well, you know,
that
it's,
sense of accomplishment.
it's, you can't explain it. You know, you work every coach and every coach that coaches any sport, that's in high school anyway. That's kind of the ultimate goal is to get to that last, like we always say, let's win the last game of the year. If we win the very last game of the year, we're probably doing pretty well.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of everybody's goal. I've been very fortunate in my career to be able to do it 4 different times.
Mhm.
Some coaches coach their whole careers and never get that opportunity. And so to be able to do it as an assistant, coordinator, and then move on to head coach and continue to do it at the same school was pretty phenomenal. And yeah, being the last game, that was just icing on the cake, I guess. I had my whole family there. My boys were there on the field with me. So yeah,
Yeah.
pretty neat.
In my journalism career, I've done a lot of sports casting or a lot of sports reporting. And the thing that I've always wondered is what makes a really good head football coach? You've got offensive and defensive coordinators calling plays. You have a staff of position coaches, trainers, medical staff. But what's the difference between a winning head coach and an average one? Say the difference between a Nick Saban and a coach who's never sniffed the playoffs at all.
Well, I think part of it is managing, whether you're a micromanager. I tried to be a micromanager. I didn't want to be a macromanager. I wanted to cut them loose, cut the coaches loose. You do it, and then tell guys that work for me who became head coaches, I said, you realize now, once you become a head coach, you do less coaching than you've ever done in your career. You're
Right.
more of the team manager.
Hmm.
You set up the schedules, you set up the buses, the meals. And I think just allowing your coaching staff to go do their thing, and just kind of micromanaging, or I guess that's the right word, where you're not really just kind of let them do their thing and make sure things are on the right track and provide the resources that they need to be successful. And I think the head coach's responsibility is to establish the culture of the program. And in the book, it talks a whole section about culture and what we did at Sandy Creek to establish that culture of accountability and winning and success and that the old adage, success kind of breeds success.
Hmm.
And then once that becomes the culture of the program, everybody that's involved with the program, from head coach, assistant coaches, players, parents, administration, they kind of take on the same mentality. And just a little sidebar, my last year, we had 15 sports at Sandy Creek High School. We won the region title in 14 of them and won 4 state titles in the same year
Wow.
in 4 different sports.
That's a
And
lot
so
of good
that
head
culture,
coaches.
yeah, and that culture, I think that's what the head coach's responsibility is to propagate that culture over and over and over across this sport, that sport, this sport, that sport, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I think proof's in the pudding.
I'm always amazed that you get a new head coach in there and it's basically kind of the same team, and yet there's something that rises to the top, whether it's the philosophy, the culture, as you say, that there's something about a coach and his philosophy that just brings them just one step higher. It's made as a coach, of course, you don't have a choice of who's on your team, especially in high school, but you have to work with what you've got. Yet there are some coaches who are just better at getting the right stuff out of players. How do they do that?
I think that starts in the off season. And in the book I referenced numerous times because when we were there early on, we were a one and done team. We were a two and done team. We just didn't quite get over that hump. And I remember it like yesterday, we all met as coaches and we finally decided, you know what? As good or bad, win or lose, whatever, we're going to drop the hammer on the kids and we're going to make these kids tougher, harder, and more aggressive. It is an aggressive sport, so you have to be aggressive to play it. And so we just really dropped the hammer on them. And then all of a sudden, we begin to see some progress in what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so then in 2009, we won a state championship. Should have won it in 8. We were really good in 8. Won it in 9. Turned around, won it back to back in 10. And then in 11, we got beat by Gainesville, and Deshaun Watson was the quarterback for Gainesville. So that was, and we got
Good
beat in the
excuse. Yeah.
quarterfinals. Yeah, we got beat in the quarterfinals, and then we won it again in 12, and then we should have won it in 13. We got beat in the semifinals in 13. And then we kind of had a little lull, kind of went back on our laurels a little bit. You know, we felt like maybe we could back off a little bit, but no, you can't. You got to continue to apply the pressure all the time. And I think the kids respond to that.
Well, you've said that winning is not about luck or magic, and talented players help, but it's other intangibles that make the difference, whether it's in coaching or in the players themselves. What are some of those intangibles that really make for success?
I think it's players have, you know, like I alluded to earlier, you know, football's kind of an interesting sport because a lot of times it's not comfortable. You know, this guy's trying to hit you, you're trying to hit him. You know, you're getting hit from this side, hit from that side. It's not always comfortable. Not that any sport is, I'm not saying that, but,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and so what you have to do is I think kids that are willing to buy into that and go, you know what, you're not going to make us quit. Nick Saban once said it best I've ever heard. Is there anything I can do as a coach that'll make you quit? And I'm going to try just to see if I can make you quit.
Hmm.
And if I can't make you quit, then you won't quit on Friday night in the game. You know, and it was interesting, the kids that played for us, and I think it's just a byproduct of all of those things that we were doing, was that it didn't matter what the score was. We could be down by 30 points. And never did you see it on our kids' face like, Coach, we're going to lose a game. You never saw that. It was like, we got this, no problem.
Hmm.
And I was like, and I was always in awe of that with those kids, how they were able to just, didn't matter. Oh, they gave a touchdown, no problem. They're all right. You know, it was like, we're going to win. And I think that all kind of brings everything together, all the culture, the accountability, holding the kids accountable is a big, you know, kids need to know that if there's a consequence. And I explain in the book, consequence doesn't always mean something bad. It can be something good. It's just a reaction to an action. And but, you know, most time we associate consequence with a negativity, but the kids need to know there's a consequence. If you don't do this, there's a price you're going to have to pay the team, not me, as a coach. You're not paying me. You're paying your teammates that price.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I think once that accountability takes over and kids start looking out for one another, you know, it changes things.
That never say die attitude brings back painful memories here in Georgia of Super Bowl 51 when the Falcons had a 28-3 lead. And Tom Brady had that attitude that you're talking about. He and Belichick and the rest of the team obviously had that attitude that, okay, we're down 25 points. Let's win this thing. And they did, unfortunately.
That's right. Just score the first one, then we'll worry about the second one when we get there.
Yeah. You can't hit a 5-run homer and that kind of thing. State titles are great. Winning is great, but what gave you the most satisfaction over your coaching career?
Watching kids, especially the kids that you had to get on to or struggled a little bit and became fairly successful in high school, but watching them after high school, after college, when they're no longer playing football, you know, because we knew what they could do in football. And, you know, I tell my wife all the time, my job never was to, you know, yes, all coaches are hired to win football games. That's all coaches, not just I'm a football coach, but all coaches are hired to win.
Sure.
And we're all measured by our wins and losses. That's just the way it is. You know, but at the end of the day, for me personally, you know, if I take kids and they become good fathers, good husbands, good brothers, good, you know, good sons in their life, then I'm way more successful than any wins or losses I ever accumulated.
Mm-hmm. How often do kids come back?
I talk to kids all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Yeah. Grown ones that have been out all the time. When the book dropped, they're all calling, wanting a copy of the book, want a copy of the book, want a copy of the book. And so, yeah, I converse with kids a pretty good bit.
Yeah, make sure they buy it though. Don't be giving away your equipment. Okay.
It
Um,
doesn't always work like that.
coaches talk a lot about academics and graduation rates and that kind of stuff. You don't just talk it, you actually lived it. You got a doctorate. How many
That's why I
football
did it.
coaches are doctors, right?
Well, that's why I did it, because if I'm going to preach it, then if I'm going to talk it, I have to walk it.
Yeah.
So I wanted them to see me walk it through that process. And then so now when I say, no, you need an education, they can't say, well, coach, you don't have one. Well, yeah, I do. So that was kind of the whole purpose for that, was I wanted to make sure that I'll walk exactly what I talk. So
Yeah.
that was kind of the reason, one of the reasons anyway.
Well, that's refreshing. This isn't just a book for football coaches. How do these principles apply in other areas of your life?
Well, I mean, with your family, we used to tell kids all the time, what are you going to do when life hits you in the mouth? Because life don't care about your insensibilities. Life don't care if you've had a rough day. Life
Mhm.
don't care, and I don't mean this to be ugly, but if your wife is sick or your child's sick, life don't care. Power company don't care. They expect their money when it's due. So you
Exactly.
have to learn to, I guess, compartmentalize a little bit and I deal with males. I don't, I always coach boys. And so you got to learn to compartmentalize a little bit and learn to say, okay, this is a problem, but I got to go to work. I've got to go take care of my family. I've got to go provide. And yeah, that's terrible what's going on right here, but I'll have to deal with that when it's time to deal with that. But right now I have to take care of my family. And
Yeah.
so, making sure that kids understand that you have to keep going. You can't just say, well, you know what, I'm not doing it anymore. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
got to keep fighting and keep grinding. So
Yeah, and you keep grinding because I think coaches, I don't never think of coaches as really they retire, but it seems like they're always coaches, right?
I think so. I think it's part of who you are. And it's funny because I knew when I went to college and I played at Presbyterian College here in South Carolina, and because I'm originally from South Carolina,
Hmm.
and I knew then I wanted to coach football. And I, so I coached in college for a couple years as a grad assistant, and then I said, I didn't really want to do all that traveling, recruiting. So I said, I'm going to high school. I want to see my kids play. If they play sports, back when I played, like if you were a college coach and your son played high school football, recruiting rules did not allow you to go see your son play.
Oh.
So you couldn't go see them play because at the time that was a violation of recruiting rules.
Mhm.
Well, they've changed a lot of that now with children and things, but that's the way it was back then. And I thought, well, no, my kid, if I have boys and they play sports, I'm gonna want to see my kids play. And so I went to high school, and I was very fortunate. Both of my kids played football for us at
Mhm.
Sandy Creek.
Right. One was a
One
quarterback, right?
one was a quarterback. He went on. He was signed with Marshall out of high school, and then he transferred to South Alabama. Started about 15, 20 games down there, and then my other son went to UAB out of high school, and then transferred to Charleston Southern and was a tight end long snapper. So I was very fortunate. I got to watch both of them play. Greatest thrill of my life. So it is
Yeah.
what at this point, no regrets.
So what projects have you got coming up? You've written a book now. What's next for you
Well, I mean, I'm still, like I said, I'm still teaching full time and coaching full time here. Um,
in South Carolina?
but in South Carolina, in Myrtle Beach.
Mhm.
I also started a little company that make a like shrimp dip spread and some pecan pies, and
Mm.
so I'm selling those to like food trucks and vendors around this area for because Myrtle Beach has a lot of events
Oh,
that
sure.
food trucks and stuff go to.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to break into that world. That's a different world,
You got that
way
straight.
different than what I'm used to. So,
Well,
but
the
I'm trying
book
to do that.
the book is From Good to Great, A Winning Philosophy, and it's available on Amazon. It's worth a read because, as Coach Garvin points out, champions aren't born, they're made, right?
I mean,
Coach?
I believe that 100% it's all what we do as coaches and adults. Same with our children.
Mhm.
If we don't instill those things and push those things on our children, well, they're not going to just magically get it. And so you have to kind of be that leader, that pusher, and I don't mean be ugly or,
Yeah, yeah.
you just have to push, push, push. And because kids are naturally, the human nature is if it hurts to do what? Stop.
Yeah, sure.
That's human nature. Well, football hurts. You got to keep going. And the kids laugh at me all the time because they go, Coach, my finger. I said, this is why God gave you 10. You can do without one. And see, they just laugh and go, Coach, that ain't right. That ain't right.
Well,
But the point. Wait, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I said, but the point is, yeah, your finger hurts, but you can still play. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's gonna hurt a little bit, just like life hurts. You know,
right.
it's gonna hurt, but you got to keep going. Same principles we talked about earlier. So I hope that's what the kids got from it.
Yeah.
That was my hope.
Well, for more pearls of wisdom from Coach Garvin, get the book. It's called From Good to Great, A Winning Philosophy. Coach, hey, thanks a million for joining us today. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. I appreciate you spending time with me, and I hope people read the book because I hope they can learn something from it, gain a little tidbit, a little snippet here, snippet there, and if it helps them get over the hump, that's what's worthwhile.
Fantastic. Folks, go out and get that book. And thank you for spending a few minutes with us on the Global Book Network. I'm Paul Ryden. We'll see you next time.